computer. Okay. So like I was saying, the line tool is what you're going to be using for 90% of the time. You can click on the line tool up here, or you can type in line, which will give you all these different, it's kind of like an option bar, line, or you can type L as the shortcut you can get to that, to specify specific point. So you can start clicking, and this is how you draw a very basic line. For most of this, AutoCAD is based around orthogonal drawing, so it's meant for drawing straight lines, right angles, things that are very measured like that. There are ways to draw organic lines. I wouldn't recommend this program for that. I think Illustrator or a couple other programs are much better for things like that, but you can do it. There's a couple ways. One of them is spline. You can start specifying points just like I was just doing, but it'll kind of like auto-complete, or it'll kind of clean it up for you, I guess is a way to say it. So that's, whoops, that's one way to make a curved line like that, and then just hit enter. You can also do arc, which is a more like measured way of doing things. So you can specify 2 points, and then you can kind of like mouse around, and that'll let you do arcs like that. So you can do another one off the same line like that. So 2 different ways of making curvy lines. I'm getting off track. I have a drawing of my apartment. It's fuzzy, I know. I made this before I moved in. I like snuck in and took measurements because I wanted to make a 3D model. Because I'm an architect, and that's what I want to do. So I have all my measurements down here. So I'm, this is a workflow you can use if you want to go around your house and do all your measurements on paper, like this, like draw a preliminary plan on paper and then convert it into AutoCAD. That's the process I am proposing. And I used feet and inches, but like I said, you can use metric, you can use your footsteps as unit, whatever you want to use. So I'll just get started here. So I know that, I wish I had taken a photo of this to show you guys, but that's okay. So I'm going to start with my walls. And I know that I'll just start in the upper left of my drawing, which is my kitchen. So I know that, okay, so I'm going to do L-I-N-E, line. Specify a point that where you start is kind of irrelevant because you can move it around later. So I know that from the exterior wall to this inner partition wall I have is 5.5 feet. So there we go, 5.5 feet. And then I have this little wing wall. Again, I just did line enter to get back to the line command. And no, I did not record that distance. I'm going to say it is 3 feet. My camera over there. Oh.
Does it snap to right angles pretty easily?
It does, and I'll show you how to turn that on and off. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry if this is making you nauseous. Okay, there's my kitchen. This wall, this is the little, it's hard to tell. That's the wing wall I'm talking about. It's called a wing wall because it kind of flies out from the main wall and then just kind of sits there. It'll become more apparent as I keep drawing. Another thing to remember is that walls have thickness. I noticed in a lot of your experiential maps, the wall is just a line like I've drawn now, but it's important to remember that that wall has a material, it has a structure inside, and then it has a finish over it. So most walls are either like timber or metal framed. So they have that inner structure, and then there's drywall on top of it, and that's what makes the wall surface that we're used to. Typically, that's about I would say like 4 to 6 inches. I'll do 5 just to be safe. So my wall thickness is 5, and I'll go back up to 3. So to answer Noah's question about snapping to angles, that's kind of what this bottom right section governs. So down here, there's a whole bunch of options. So you can see I can turn my grid on and off. So I can probably turn it off. I'm not really using it. It makes my eye comfortable because that's what I'm used to seeing. But unless you're kind of, I guess it could be useful depending. You can also change the scale of the grid. So you can make like every line like a foot apart. It looks like these are a foot apart. So if I go from this to this, oh wait, that's at 7. Okay, I don't know. Anyways, there's a grid there if you want to use it. There's also snap mode, which will then snap to the grid, I believe. yeah, grid snap or polar snap. So anyway, lots of different options. The ones that I use the most are orthogonal, specified angles, and then cursor snap. So let me annotate this real quick. That was orthogonal, which is this like right angle looking thing. There's specified angles, which is the pi, and then there is object snap, which is this one. So let me show you what each of those do. Clear. Okay, so orthogonal, restrict cursor orthogonally. So that'll only let you draw in strictly straight lines. So you can see now I can only draw to the left, to the right, to the up and the down. It's not letting me draw in any other direction other than the 4 cardinal directions. So that's really nice if you like are worried you're getting some like angles in there that you don't want. And then the one that I use is specified angles. And that's essentially kind of the same thing. It's a little more forgiving though. So it'll just kind of tell me, like you can see this green guide shoot out. That means I'm at 45. This is at 0. And this is also adjustable. So you can set it to any increments of 5s that lets you draw 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, blah, blah, blah. So it can all guide you that way, or you can go all the way to 90, which is essentially the same as orthogonal. It'll only let you draw in the 4 directions. Or sorry, it'll let you draw in more, but it'll like snap to the ones you specified. So I think I usually have it at, I usually have it at the 45. So kind of gives you the benefits of orthogonal with a little bit more flexibility. Sorry, I don't know if this is really boring, but it definitely helps with like technical drafting once you start getting into plans and sections, which is why I'm showing you. And then object snap, if you turn this off, it will not give you any guides or any like preference to where you're clicking. So for example, to click on this corner, to have to get like really close, and then even then it wouldn't be exactly accurate. But if you turn on object snapping, it'll tell you, it'll give you like a little green box and crosshairs so that you know that you're snapping exactly to that intersection or to that point. All right, so let me keep going here. I also know that my apartment is 9 feet wide, so it'll give me the kind of the outer dimensions. And then let's see here. So, I'll just put this kind of randomly down here. So I'm using my keyboard just because I know most of the shortcuts that I need. But again, you can always, pretty much any tool or feature is available somewhere on this user interface if you do not know the line command. And I'm also constantly Googling like, okay, how do you do this in AutoCAD? And there's usually lots of tutorials or forums about how to do something. So to get out of a command, so for example, if I do line, draw a line, and I say, okay, I don't want to draw a line anymore, you can either right click and say cancel, or you can hit the escape button on your keyboard. Both will kind of cancel you out of that command and let you do what you want to do next. Okay, so I know that I have a door. My front door kind of lines up with the edge of this wing wall, so I'm just going to draw a line just to give me a guide. And then I can draw where the door is. So it's also important to remember that usually exterior walls are thicker than interior walls. So this wall that I've drawn here is an interior wall because it's not separating outside from inside. It's only separating inside spaces, and this one is even not doing that because it's a wing wall. But let me give you an example. Just draw here. Oh, that's another REC is short for rectangle, which lets you quickly draw 4 lines that make up a square or a rectangle. So say this is a room. We have, I just did L, enter for line. We have a wall here. I'm sorry, let me be more specific about this. We have a room here, and then we can say we have a room here. We have 3 rooms. And I'm going to trim, T-R-I-M, just trim, and then it'll let you quickly slice little bits and pieces off. So I have 3 rooms, right? So if we say that interior walls are 5 inches, we can make that one thickness. So I was about to use this command called offset, O-F-F-S-E-T, which is also somewhere around here. I don't know because I never use these. Draw. Shoot, no, I can't find it. Anyway, it's probably somewhere in this interface. I'm just going to type it in offset. And it says specify offset distance or through. So I'm going to specify 5 inches, and then it lets you click on something, and then it will automatically make another line that's 5 inches away from the first one. You could also do, if I want to do this a different way, I did line, and then I type in 5 inches, and that'll make a line that is 5 inches from where you did it, or from where you started it. So then I can do it that way. That's another way to make thickness. A couple of the things that I'm realizing I'm not telling you, you can move around the drawing by using a command called pan, P-A-N. That'll give you this little hand. You can click and drag, and that's how you can move about your drawing. You can also hold down the middle mouse. No, you can't see that. It's all black. There it is. You can hold down the middle mouse button, and that's a typical shortcut. It's like on install. That should be a shortcut, so you can just hold down that middle mouse button and then also pan that way. And then selecting is another thing you'll have to get used to if you're interested in using this tool. There's 2 major selection styles in this program. The first one is a blue selection, and that will select, it will only select everything that is fully encompassed by the selection box. And the other way is this green style, and that will select anything that the selection area is touching. So I'm throwing a lot of information at you guys, but just stick with me, and then we can work with this more. So essentially what that means, the blue box has to cover the whole thing that you're trying to select. So for example, it won't even select this rectangle because it's still an object, which I can fix if I click on it and then say explode. That'll make it 4 separate line segments. So then I can select just this one, but notice it only selects it if I have the whole thing covered with the blue selection. But with the green selection, everything that it touches will get immediately selected. So the green is much less discriminate. And the only difference is you get the blue selection if you start at the top left and go down into the right. The green one, you have to start at the bottom right and go up, and you'll see it'll change right there, depending on how. So as you use it more and more, this will become intuitive. This is like, these are things I don't even think about anymore. I don't even think about them anymore. They'll probably be really cumbersome when you first start. Okay, so back to our example. Interior walls are thinner than exterior walls. So these exterior walls, let's say, are a foot. So I just did my offset command. I typed in a foot. There we go. And then you'll have to connect these. I'm doing this quickly just for time. Oops. It's automatically referencing this point that I'm hovering over. Okay, so now we have that. And then if you wanted to, you could say trim, and then you can trim the lines in between because they're connected. And then you'd add doors and windows and blah, blah, blah. So that's where I was going with this, is that I made this interior wall 5 inches, but the exterior wall, it's probably closer. This is a brick building, so the walls are probably like 2 feet. Oops, offset 2 feet. Oh, that looks really thick. Let's do let's do 1.5 feet. So I do 1.5 feet. Whoops. This is a stairwell on the other side of this. I'm just gonna make the stairs real quickly. Oh, sorry, how to do this. A second. Stairs. So the command I just used, it just froze on me, but it's text, T-E-X-T. And you hit enter, and then enter a couple other parameters, and then it will let you type. For some reason, it has to like load the fonts or something. It froze on me. But once I get the wall thicknesses, and I can start to add doors and windows. And this is a very preliminary crash course on how to draw plans. I'll probably do a more in-depth tutorial later down the line, but I just thought this would be helpful for your program mapping, since you probably have all the measurements and dimensions anyways. Okay, there we go. Stairs are over here. So this wall is, the point of that is that this wall is interior. So we're gonna go 5 inches on this wall. This wall goes to the hallway. I just did copy, C-O-P-Y, to copy that text element. Airway, hallway, there we go. So stairs over there, hallways over here. Let me connect some of these lines here. Any questions so far? I know I'm moving pretty quickly, and you guys might not even have this software installed on your computers yet. Okay, so the doors are typically 3 feet. So if the door starts right here, you can offset this line 3 feet that way. And I'll trim some of this up. So now I have the opening for my door, and then I'll trim this again, and then I'll make a rectangle to show you guys how to do dimensions. So rectangle, you can either kind of just visually make the rectangle, but you can also enter dimensions. By the way, rectangle is this little icon up here, creates a rectangular polyline. Polyline means it's like a line is, each segment is separate, but a polyline creates lines that are connected, that are grouped as one object already. Maybe I'll talk about that more later. So I'm going to specify a first corner, but then, so you can see, I can't point because my mouse is, see down here it says rectangle, specify other corner point or area, dimensions, rotation. So that gives you a list of options, and then, so it's essentially like a mini menu, and then you can navigate that by typing in the options that it's giving you. So I'm going to type in dimensions. You can also just type D. So it says specify length for rectangles. I say my door is 2.5 inches, and then the width is 3 feet, because that's the opening we made. And then it'll let you kind of decide which quadrant you want to put it in. And then I'm going to take this, rotating is another really important tool. That's in the modify tab. So we have draw and then modify are the 2 main tabs. So rotate, it says rotate, so you have to select objects. I'll select my door. Then you have to hit enter. Specify base point. So this is just asking you what point you want to rotate it around. I'll just pick one of these corners. And then specify rotation angle. Typically, architectural representation doors are either 90 degrees or 45 from their hinge. I usually like to do 45. I think it's more dynamic, and it makes it less confusing. You're not going to like mistake it for a wall as easily. So I'm going to do 45, and then I can go and select this, and I'm going to say move, M-O-V-E. You can also, it's also this little crosshair icon up here. Move, again, it'll ask you to select a base point. So I'll pick this, and then I'm just going to stick it right there. And then typically you also have an arc that shows the swing of the door. So I'm going to type an arc. It says specify start point right here, go right there, and then that looks fine. I'm just going to do that visually for now. Maybe a little extra piece which I'll trim off. And then, okay, so now we have 3 walls. One of them is exterior. We have a little wing wall. We have a door with a swing. So I'm going to C-O-P-Y, copy this over, double click. This is my kitchen. And then also show you scale. Scale is another one in the modify tab. So I can click on that. It's like move or rotate. You have to select the object, hit enter, base point right there, and then you can either do it, again, visually, like with the rectangle, or you can specify a scale factor. So if you wanted it to be half as big, you enter 0.5, excuse me, and it'll shrink it down by half. Okay, so the next thing I'm drawing is the wall between my main space and my bathroom, which I have as 14 feet from my wing wall. So I'm going to start a line, click on this corner right here, and then do 14, I'm typing 14 feet, and then that made this line right here, and then I'll go down like that. So, and this is my bathroom. wall is interior, so I'll do 5 inches offset. There is my bathroom wall. And then, let's see. It's probably, I didn't record how wide my bathroom is, but I would say probably 5 feet. So I'll do offset by 5 feet. Bam. And then my neighbor is sharing this wall on the other side. I'll do another 5 inches. That's an interior wall. A couple more lines, trim off this extra. Go in, clean this up a little bit. Woohoo! There's my apartment. Let me do a couple more labels here. Oops. Okay. Hopefully now you'll be able to see this program map coming together a little bit more. I have another door in my bathroom. I'll show you how to make a, how do I do this? I'll tell you how to make a block. So a block is something, block is a really important tool if you're working on larger drawings. It essentially specifies a group of lines and objects that are always the same. So let me show you what I mean by that. So if I copy my door, let's say I want to copy my door over to my bathroom. Well, I'll just show you this way. So I'll make this, I'll select that and type in block, B-L-O-C-K, and this will open your block definition. So then I can say, this is a 3-foot door, and just hit OK. So now this whole thing is going to operate as a group. So what I can do is, let's see, so my bathroom door, for purposes of this tutorial, is in the middle of this wall. So because I have objects snapping on, it tells me where the midpoint is. And again, you can tell it to do that or not to do that. If you open this menu, you can see it can specify endpoint, midpoint, center, node, quadrant, blah, 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 blah. It'll probably, it's automatically probably the set of 7, I would imagine, or something like that. If I turn that off, it will not tell me where the midpoint is. So I keep that on so I know where the midpoint is. There's my middle of my wall. And then I'll do 1.5 feet off of either side of that to make a 3-foot gap. And then enter to cancel that, and I'll go to trim, get rid of these, enter, and delete that one. Okay, so now we have our door opening. So now what I can do is copy this door, C-O-P-Y, put it, swings inwards, and from this side. So now the door is in the right place, but it's not at the right angle. So what I'm going to do is a command called mirror. That's another basic tool in the modify. So you can either hit that or type in M-I-R-R-O-R. Select objects, yes. Okay, so now it's going to ask which axis you want to flip over. So it's saying select first point of mirror line. I want to flip it. I'll just show you, I can't do it with my hands. So I'm going to select, I'm going to make a line right down this way so I can flip it over and then rotate it. I think I'm doing this right. So it'll show you kind of a preview. So you can see as my mirror line changes, it's also changing the result. So click there. It's going to ask if you want to erase source objects. I'm going to say yes because I just want this one. Oh wait, did I do this one? No, I did it right. Okay, so now it's facing the right way and I just have to rotate it into place. So I can either do it by eye, will work pretty well, but I can also use, you can see down in the menu it says copy or reference. I can use a reference, so I'm going to type R for reference. And then it's asking me to specify the reference angle. So it's kind of just asking you where you want your handle for rotation to be, and I want my handle to be the end of this arc for our door swing. So that's our endpoint. And then it's going to let us specify new angles. So I'm just going to click there. Now it's perfectly rotated. There's my bathroom. So there's my 2 doors that I have in my apartment. My desk, oops. Oh. Oh my God. It's been a long day, you guys. My desk is a rectangle. So I can draw a rectangle. And that's where my desk is. That's where I'm sitting. That's me. Hi. That was just CIRC for circle. It's also right there. There's a ton of online sources for objects like this. Oh, and then I'll go back to the doors because I forgot what I was going to say about that. Let me show you. So if you just go to Google and type in CAD assets or CAD blocks, that'll get you to some really good free websites for things like furniture, things like toilets, sinks, trees, cars, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure there's lots of asset groups that you can pay for if you want, but I typically just find free ones. So that's another good way if you don't want to draw a door, if you don't want to draw a toilet, there's tons of stuff online. Back to the doors, and I'll try to finish this up in like 5 minutes. So now that this door is a block, that's important because if I change one thing about this block, it'll change all of the blocks. So for example, if I were to draw a line there, for some reason I say close block editor, it's going to ask me if I want to save the changes. Yeah, I do. And so now both doors have a line. So you can see how this is really important if you're modifying lots of parts at once, or if you need to maintain consistency or things like that. The block tool is really important. It'll save you so much time. Okay, let's do a window, and then I think we'll be done. So windows are typically represented by just a double line. So I have a window right behind me. Oops, there it is. Drop something. So that window, I have it measured. I thought, maybe not. I don't, but I'll just draw it anyways. So that window starts around here, and then let's say, for example, I think that window is 4 feet. So again, I'm going to use my offset tool, specify 4 feet. There I have a window. I'll trim it up. So get rid of these lines. And then usually you draw the window pane as well, like the layer of glass or layers. So there's the window, and you can do that also as a thickness, just like a wall. Let's do 1 inch. It's usually pretty thin. It's also not in the center. So you can see here, I've drawn it kind of in the middle of this exterior wall, but it actually sits a little bit more towards the exterior. So I just selected these two by using my green selection. If I wanted to use blue, I would do the whole thing, and then M, enter for move, and then select my base point, and then I can scooch it a little bit higher to the top. So there you go. That's a really, really, really quick tutorial on AutoCAD. Again, I know that was really fast. Please let me know right now or later if you have questions. And then let me show you real quick. Last thing is how to annotate. Oh, and then paper space. Shoot. Oh, there's so much to know. Okay, so this whole thing that we've been working in is called model space. You have some tabs down here at the bottom left side. And then your layout, your drawing will automatically start with 2 layouts, which are your paper space. And this program has a separation because everything you draw in model space should be accurate to scale. You should never be drawing to scale. You should be using the measurements that you've taken. So if something is 9 feet, the line should be 9 feet. But then what paper space does is it'll give you a piece of paper that you can scale on top of that. And so this is probably, let's see, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Yeah, it gives me a standard printing sheet automatically. And then the box containing your drawing is called the viewport. So this viewport you can shrink, you can move it just like you can move it just like lines or any object. So I'll just make this almost as big as the paper. I'll leave a little bit of margin. And then, excuse me, if you double click, you can pan around inside and make this different scales. And the scale's at this bottom right-hand corner. So you can see 1:1. That'll give you full size. So everything you're seeing now is accurate to scale. I'm not explaining that well, but like if I had a bigger piece of paper, you could see like important pieces of the drawing at a 1:1 scale. Anyways, I mentioned in my lecture we did 1/4 of an inch equals 1 foot. that works out pretty well, serendipitously. So now this drawing is that 1/4 of an inch equals 1 foot. So like I explained in that video, so now one 1/4 inch of paper space is equal, it represents 1 foot of space. So for example, if we go here, if we see that the total length of this is 26 feet, quick math would mean that, oops, 26 divided by 4. So that means that the area of paper that this should take up is like 6.5. So let's see if that's true. And it is 6 and 9/16. So just a little bit over half of 6 inches. So hopefully that makes sense. And then what you can do is to like export this. You go to plot, which is an old word for print, and you can specify a whole different set of printers. I always use DWG to PDF. DWG is the file type of AutoCAD. It stands for drawings, and then to PDF just will spit you out PDF. You can preview, so that's what it'll look like, and then hit OK, and then I can say and then voila! Now you have a plan. Obviously, a lot more to cover here. Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking about like coloring in these walls that they're darker. Let me show you guys how to do that real quick. I think that's important. That's another command called hatch. I'm not sure where that is on the user interface. Hatch, H-A-T-C-H, is a way to fill in areas with color. So you type that in, hit enter, and you can see as I mouse around, it'll start to fill in areas. So if I wanted to color all my walls and my doors black, I can click these. Okay. Sometimes this is like very temperamental. I'm gonna have to work with it a little bit. So you can specify, let me use my still here. There's like tons of patterns you can use, concrete. Oops, too far. I'm also playing with the scale. So for example, if I find a pattern that I really like this brick one, this is at a 5 scale. I'm not sure if this is in feet or inches or whatever, but you can make it tighter if you type in a smaller number, or you can make it bigger if you type in a bigger number. I'll just do mine solid for now. Close. And then all the color stuff is over in this properties panel. So it'll let you specify colors, layers, things like that, which again, I'll go into more later. But oops, if I wanted to make this, let's do pink. So now I can re-export this. Oops. Now it'll give me, now I have a plan with colored in walls. So I encourage you to look at plans that you like. Notice the drawing conventions they use, like how thick the walls are, what color the hatch of the walls are, how the text is dealt with. So kind of like look around at examples, see how you want to do it. And then also remember about the framing, what I was talking about, how to represent scale. If you have a key, make sure your key is like neatly organized or kind of not distracting in that way. So that's a really basic tutorial on AutoCAD. Hopefully that will be helpful in the creation of your program maps. Let me stop sharing here, stop recording.